Welcome back to our channel, the place where hidden chapters, royal secrets, and the stories the palace won't publish finally come to light. Today we bring you a breaking news: Prince Harry finally admits the truth about Meghan. You won't believe it. Recent public engagements and statements by Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, have rekindled significant media scrutiny and extensive public discourse over the condition of his personal life and the status of his marriage to Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. What commenced as a sequence of allegedly frank remarks at private assemblies in California has been interpreted by analysts and anonymous sources as some of the most intimate confessions the prince has made since he and his wife relinquished their positions as senior working members of the British royal family. The sequence of reporting responses and interpretations that ensued from these comments reveals overarching dynamics: the challenge of maintaining a consistent personal narrative amid relentless public examination, the transformation of private vulnerabilities into public discourse, and the intricate interplay between individual mental health relationship dynamics and the commercial imperatives of a prominent brand. The dynamics are not exclusive to this pair. However, they are exacerbated by their exposure, the monarchy's institutional significance, and the modern media landscape, where transient remarks can evolve into lasting narratives and contentious storylines. The immediate trigger for renewed scrutiny was Prince Harry's involvement in a private wellness meeting in California. The summit was billed as an event oriented on mental health and personal development, with specific attention on difficulties confronting men. Such gatherings frequently offer a comparably private atmosphere for speakers to explore elements of their inner lives that they may not divulge in official interviews or planned presentations. Multiple testimonials that appeared following the summit show that a journalist's inquiry during the question and answer session resonated greatly with the Duke. Reported by many outlets, the inquiry, "Do you ever feel as though you have lost your identity in love?" elicited a palpable and emotionally intense response. The described incident in reports shows how perfectly curated public figures can, in specific contexts, allow for a measure of spontaneous introspection, and how rapidly such episodes can be blended into bigger narratives that transcend their intended goal. Eyewitness testimonies revealed a noticeable difference in Prince Harry's demeanor at that period. Witnesses said he gave a thoughtful response after a deep sigh. He reportedly acknowledged, stating, "There was a time I no longer recognized the man in the mirror. I believed I was discovering freedom, yet at times freedom can resemble a cage." The latter phrase, "freedom can resemble a cage," swiftly became the subject of analysis and speculation. Within hours, video recordings and quoted bits from the conference propagated over social media sites, including X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. In the contemporary media landscape, a moment aimed at a modest or sympathetic audience can be rapidly amplified, transforming statements made in private or semi-private contexts into material for a global discourse. The swift proliferation of short-form videos and viral commentary generates an unseen momentum. A segment of dialogue can be extracted from its context, recaptioned, remixed, and reinterpreted in manners that deviate from the speaker's original intent, making it challenging for the speaker or their team to rectify. Commentators, pundits, and the public interpreted the remarks differently, but a common interpretation was a subtle reference to the couple's post-royal life in Montecito, California, and its tensions. The vague statement could be interpreted as remorse or as a poignant reflection on the ironies of changing one form of confinement for another. Media agencies sought to contextualize the statement by consulting psychologists and body language experts tasked with interpreting the prince's tone, pauses, and nonverbal cues. In broadcasts and writings, these experts noted his reluctance and the emotional weight of his statements. Expert commentary often elevates a brief statement as a sign of psychological issues. The deployment of professionals can transform an ephemeral human experience into a subject of diagnostic study, where personal vulnerability is evaluated for importance and later reshaped for public distribution, sometimes without the nuance necessary by therapeutic or professional settings. Both tabloid magazines and broadsheets sought information from unidentified persons reportedly connected to the Sussexes or with former links to the royal family. A source cited by the Daily Mail reportedly characterized the moment as the closest he's ever come to admitting regret. Various reports depicted the incident not as a mere aside, but as a potentially significant slip of truth, a term frequently employed in journalism to indicate that an unscripted statement discloses a private reality. The depiction of the comment in this manner altered public perception. Instead of being taken as a transient contextual observation, it was presented as confirmation of a major private concern. When media language shifts from description to diagnosis, from he said to he meant, audience interpretation of the statement and the individuals involved changes, potentially creating a narrative momentum that is difficult to counter across platforms and editorial environments. Claims of prior discord inside the Sussex household have emerged alongside reports of the summit remarks. Multiple sources have reported unidentified insiders indicating that the emotional outburst was not a single incident, but rather the result of prolonged, possibly years-long discord and tension in the couple's personal and professional lives. These sources suggest that disparities in aspirations and goals between the Duke and Duchess have increasingly generated conflict beneath their polished public facade. This narrative suggests that the couple's public cohesion conceals private negotiations and conflicts, a situation prevalent in numerous relationships, yet intensified by their shared public persona, the surrounding commentary industry, and the financial implications linked to their branding choices. A commonly referenced source of this tension is the couple's career progression and the significant obstacles they have faced. The prominent multi-year, multi-million-dollar agreement with Spotify, frequently regarded as a fundamental element of their post-royal media strategy, reportedly ended after just one season of Meghan Markle's podcast Archetypes. Similarly, although the Netflix docu-series Harry and Meghan achieved substantial viewership for the streaming service, subsequent endeavors have purportedly encountered difficulties in attaining similar success. Sources affiliated with the couple's professional network have indicated that these varied results have generated internal discord on the optimal course of action. The financial and reputational pressures associated with substantial contracts can be onerous. When expected returns or cultural influence fail to manifest as anticipated, partners and teams frequently reevaluate their strategies, potentially resulting in conflict, dissatisfaction, or misplaced accountability among participants. The Duchess has reportedly shown a greater inclination towards high-profile media endeavors and brand collaborations to elevate the Archewell brand into a prominent media enterprise. The reasoning provided by her associates is that sustaining public visibility, obtaining lucrative endorsements, and producing content are strategies for attaining enduring financial independence and influence, a credible aim, considering the couple's shift from institutional roles to a market-oriented income and public engagement model. Conversely, Prince Harry reportedly yearns for a more tranquil private existence, one less compelled by the necessity to provide constant material and manage a public narrative. An anonymous insider cited in a story succinctly articulated this disparity in perspective. He's fatigued. The source also implied that the prince has become weary of his role as a public spokesperson, a symbolic figurehead, and a collaborator who frequently yields to a cohesive public identity. This disparity in ambition between a strategy of ongoing public engagement and a yearning for seclusion reflects tensions prevalent in numerous couples relying on public visibility, yet it is intensified when the partners' identities were formerly tied to a stringent institutional role that dictated conduct, obligation, and identity long before market incentives became relevant. The contrast of these narratives illustrates a couple who, having departed from the confines of the British monarchy in pursuit of independence, now confront a distinct array of responsibilities that impose their own stresses. The rescue narrative, the account promoted through interviews and media appearances asserting that Prince Harry endeavored to liberate his wife from a detrimental or unwelcoming royal milieu, has been important to the couple's public mythos. However, certain sources indicate that the prince has commenced a re-evaluation of that story. An anonymous commentator remarked, "He is beginning to comprehend the extent of his sacrifices made in an effort to protect someone who may not have desired salvation initially." This notion, presented as a poignant realization, implies that the endeavor to liberate a partner can paradoxically engender novel constraints for the individual undertaking it. The theme is both psychological and structural. Acts of sacrifice may engender latent resentment or a reassessment of self-worth when expected reciprocation or acknowledgement is absent, and these emotions can be further complicated by the performative pressures of a public partnership. The prince's alienation from his extended family in the United Kingdom further complicates issues. As his brother Prince William, the Prince of Wales, undertakes increasing official duties, and their father King Charles III focuses on state affairs and legacy, Harry is characterized by certain sources as both geographically and emotionally detached from his former life. An insider articulated the profound sense of isolation. His family has progressed. His brother is flourishing. Even King Charles appears to have mellowed, prioritizing legacy over familial disputes. In contrast, Harry remains ensnared, not in London nor in LA, but in limbo. The term limbo serves as a metaphor for a condition of suspended belonging, neither fully assimilated into the royal institution nor the celebrity sphere he has entered. The experience of liminality can significantly impact identity. Belonging is both a personal sentiment and a social designation, and the loss of institutional roles and relational certainties can trigger a self-crisis evident in mood behavior and the reassessment of personal priorities. The immediate aftermath of the Wellness Summit episode, as reported by numerous publications, was characterized by urgency and emotional anguish. Insiders indicated that the reaction within the couple's Montecito residence was immediate when the film of Prince Harry's comments became viral. Meghan Markle's communications team reportedly commenced a swift damage control initiative, reaching out to media to clarify the Duke's remarks. The conference organizers were reportedly questioned regarding the context of the discussion and the conditions under which the footage was leaked. The endeavor to control the story in real time is a common strategy in modern public relations. When an unscripted incident receives attention, teams are activated to offer framing context or counter-arguments to mitigate reputational harm. The velocity and synchronization of these answers frequently indicate the necessity of safeguarding meticulously crafted public personas and the extent to which private comments can jeopardize strategic initiatives, particularly when several stakeholders, including talent partners and platforms, share intersecting interests and concerns. Notwithstanding these efforts, the apparent sincerity of the prince's speech rendered reframing challenging. Reports indicate that the rawness of his tone and the very personal character of the remark connected with the people, complicating efforts to depict the comment as just indicative of past problems rather than a manifestation of current unhappiness. Individuals highlighting the authenticity of the occasion capitalized on social media's ability to disseminate unaltered fragments that defy traditional manipulation. The democratization of dissemination, allowing audiences to share and respond without intermediaries, paradoxically diminishes PR control while intensifying the emotional nuances of these instances. In this setting, authenticity serves as a double-edged sword. It can foster empathy and humanize a public figure, yet it may also provoke intrusive conjecture, incessant commentary, and a breach of private boundaries deemed vital in non-celebrity situations. Insiders claim that following his return from the summit, Prince Harry was met with an irate Duchess, and that the ensuing dialogue was one of the most volatile in their relationship. An supposed insider informed reporters that Meghan accused her husband of treachery, alleging that his statements had portrayed her as manipulative or domineering. The paraphrase from the unnamed source states, Meghan expressed that he portrayed her as manipulative, akin to a controlling, scheming spouse. She claimed he had undermined all their efforts. In reaction, Prince Harry reportedly maintained a resolute stance, which was characterized as atypical compared to his prior submissive public demeanor. His concise reported response was, I did not ruin anything, I merely stated the truth. If authentically conveyed, this incident indicates a possible turning point in their private relationship, a partner articulating an individual perspective in contrast to a cohesive public narrative. The nature of this exchange, whether it signifies a temporary conflict or a fundamental shift in priorities, remains uncertain for astute onlookers, with clarity likely to arise over time through ongoing actions and discussions rather than through singular stories. Subsequent to the documented altercation, a strategic public relations initiative seems to be implemented. Numerous media articles favoring the pair attempted to minimize the importance of Harry's comments, proposing that they were misinterpreted, indicative of fatigue, or constituted a transient, possibly inelegantly articulated account of previous challenges. These articles frequently referenced unnamed friends of the couple and characterized the incident as a misperception rather than a conclusive disclosure. Nonetheless, the public discourse shown resilience against such initiatives. Comment threads and social media platforms exhibited skepticism regarding the proposed narrative, with numerous critics determining that the Duchess was choosing brand protection over her husband's emotional well-being. Expressions like, "He appears despondent," and "She is no longer safeguarding him, she is safeguarding herself," proliferated, illustrating the rapidity with which public empathy may fluctuate and the precariousness of constructed narratives of suffering or salvation when subjected to fresh examination. The rapidity with which a novel interpretive framework might supersede an intended message poses a fundamental problem for any public person striving to manage meaning within a fragmented media landscape. The wellness meeting was not depicted as the only occasion on which Prince Harry conveyed candid emotions. Witness accounts from the event revealed that he lingered post-session to engage in private discussions with a select group. In that more personal context, when attention shifted to his mental health journey, he allegedly made another incisive remark: "Healing means telling the truth," subsequently qualifying it with, "even when it hurts people you love." Combined with the earlier cage comment, this later statement strengthened the perception that the prince may be embracing a path of radical honesty. It indicated an internal conflict between the inclination to maintain loyalty to loved ones and a personal obligation to articulate his inner lives and experiences truthfully. Philosophically and therapeutically, advocates of radical honesty contend that transparency can be emancipating and essential for self-integration. However, detractors caution that unfiltered truth-telling may be unnecessarily harmful if it disregards context, timing, and the requisite processes for relational restoration. Longtime acquaintances of the prince reportedly observed a transformation in his demeanor. Acquaintances from his military service allegedly saw a transition from the spirited, jovial individual they recalled to a man who seemed increasingly reclusive. A former colleague in an interview with the Mirror purportedly remarked, "He used to be the one making jokes and purchasing the next round. Now he merely gazes into his drink. It seems as though he is entirely elsewhere." It is challenging to ascertain whether these observations indicate a true alteration in personality or are merely the subjective perceptions of friends responding to stressful circumstances. However, the consistent characterization of his melancholic withdrawal highlights the perceived psychological impact of enduring significant public scrutiny. Observers familiar with prominent people across various life stages frequently see changes via the prism of nostalgia, which can amplify observed deterioration or highlight characteristics that bolster an existing narrative. In a disclosed conversation with a former military associate, Prince Harry reportedly expressed a desire for anonymity. "Sometimes I miss being invisible." This remark highlights the paradox of contemporary celebrity, the pursuit of fame aimed at resolving issues specifically to attain autonomy. Resources and security can engender new vulnerabilities. For an individual who exchanged the confines of royal decorum for the assurance of seclusion in California, the concept of invisibility symbolizes a forfeited simplicity. Observers have described the couple's commercial and creative initiatives aimed at ensuring their future profitable agreements, documentary projects, and public engagements as both liberating and restrictive. Commentators have employed the metaphor, "chains of gold and guilt," to encapsulate the ambivalence of privilege that incurs an emotional toll. The statement highlights that material security may include moral and psychological costs when societal expectations limit genuine existence and when each human decision carries reputational and financial repercussions. The sources say Prince Harry has secretly reconnected with his past during these trials. He has maintained in touch with old army comrades and a royal advisor he was close to, according to multiple sources. Instead than trying to repair relations with the royal family, the reconnections are seen as personal efforts to regain identity and stability. An insider called this conduct existential. "He has no family or longtime pals. His only companion for years was her voice. That revelation hit him like a wave. A tidal wave symbolizes the sudden, overwhelming nature of such a revelation when chronic isolation and dependence become apparent." According to social support theory, re-establishing old networks might help people feel connected and secure outside their new responsibilities. Reports of these reconnections show a desire for anchors before their post-royal examination. Another scene from a small Santa Barbara veterans ceremony shows the prince's desire to reconnect with his pre-royal life. He was greeted as Captain Wales by those who remembered him as an ex-soldier, not the Duke of Sussex. During a private conversation, he reportedly said, "You don't realize how bewildered you are until someone removes the compass. I thought I was acting right, but I stopped being myself." The compass metaphor describes how many people rely on relationships when external guidance or influence is removed or changed. Identity crises can occur. According to his judgment, the prince is suffering from a protracted personal adjustment. Recovering a past identity can be therapeutic and challenging for public figures, especially those used to institutional tasks necessitating a reassessment of roles and boundaries. The Duke's contemplative remarks have risen while the Duchess has reportedly been trying to revamp their image. Insiders say a major magazine story has been discussed to express her perspective and reset the public narrative. These media aspects allow prominent figures to reshape narratives in curated, sophisticated environments. This planned piece depicts the Duchess as a victim of misinterpretation, a tale that has historically gained sympathy and intrigue. Media strategists use long-form content to reshape public perception using curated imagery, selective disclosure, and editorial collaborations. However, if audiences see redundancy or a lack of novelty, these strategies may come across as transactional or defensive. Multiple sources quote observers who say the cultural and media landscape is changing. Media fashion editors and cultural figures who supported the couple's narrative have apparently become more restrained. A Hollywood source said the couple's currency had waned. Their story of misery and escape no longer evokes compassion and commercial attraction. Inference audiences and industry gatekeepers are becoming increasingly skeptical of transactional, performatively managed, or overly familiar storylines, and reputational reserves can be quickly depleted when new content challenges existing standards. Audience tiredness occurs when storylines are repeated without new content, diminishing empathy and encouraging engagement in newer themes or voices. Prince Harry is apparently working with a publisher on a new personal project. A journalist with close ties to the royal family describes the project as distinct from his earlier book, Spare, and unlike a documentary or serialized style. Instead of a memoir or film, the work is private and identity-focused. According to the plot, love, loss, and loyalty may change a person. Draft material has been called shockingly honest, implying it may contain revelations that contradict the couple's carefully constructed public narrative. If true, this project implies a desire to reclaim narrative control and express an inner realm not explored in earlier public statements or products. Meghan Markle apparently didn't approve or contribute to the proposal. The Duchess is uneasy about the work's autonomy and personal focus. As a source put it, this time he's not narrating Meghan's story, he's recounting his own. Harry's capacity to recount his inner life and choices without collaboration jeopardizes the couple's coherent narrative since their 2020 royal retirement. The Duke's move towards strengthening his individual voice might undercut a joint media strategy and expose private issues to public attention. Celebrity autobiographies can reframe public narratives while reopening old traumas and prompting counter-disclosures as audiences and critics scrutinize the released material and omissions. The collection of published incidents, private remarks, and purported endeavors shows a former senior royal trying to balance his desire for seclusion with the practical and psychological effects of celebrity life in the media. His comments about feeling confined despite liberty wanting anonymity and saying healing entails honesty illustrate a struggle between self-expression and maintaining relationships and reputations. These issues may be resolved through private discussion, public reframing, or increased autonomy. Negotiation may maintain relationships but compromise identity. Public reframing may improve brand coherence, but risk authenticity and audience trust. And acts of autonomy may fulfill personal integrity but threaten relational connections and commercial alliances. Each path interacts with variable media coverage, market reactions, and public sentiment. The widespread response to these incidents shows how vulnerable created identities are in the age of social media and regular news coverage. Since 2020, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have combined romantic escapism with public campaigning and commercial interests. The brand's coherence depends on the perception of unity and shared purpose. Reported private dispute and individual endeavors not aligned with the couple's narrative carry risk. Contradiction-sensitive audiences may mistrust, and business partners may reconsider investing in storylines that seem internally contradictory. Organizations and platforms assess reach and reputational risk, and internal turmoil among brand advocates can result in financial risk or strategic hesitation from supporters and advertisers. The story highlights classic partnership sacrifice and identity problems. Many partnerships include one person giving up structures or advantages to protect or empower the other, hoping the protector will recalculate sacrifice and reward. Prince Harry has started exercising and reconnecting with old acquaintances, indicating a determination to recover his life. Whether the pair will discuss this reassertion privately or publicly is unknown. In various ways, couples balance personal growth and shared obligations. Advisors, media, and corporate interests may not support individual welfare or the patient-sensitive process of rebuilding relationships in very public partnerships, amplifying and limiting these interactions. Prince Harry's planned announcements and how the pair will mix authenticity and strategy are of interest to monarchy watchers, media professionals, and active citizens. If the Duke follows a personal endeavor that shows his ideas and decisions, the Duchess may feel obligated to respond, or both may discover a new balance that permits individual expression while keeping a united face. Public opinion considers both techniques hazardous. Disclosing internal differences can be therapeutic and commercially profitable, but it may solidify notions neither party endorses and attract outsiders who exploit splits. Advisors, editors, and the couple's editing timeliness and disclosure ethics will affect their reputations, relationships, and mental health. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex's fairy tale courtship, philosophical disengagement from royal duties, and brand development for autonomy face their biggest internal conflict. Prince Harry may be losing his public character as he pursues more speech freedom and struggles to match his need for seclusion with the financial demands of a media career. Media coverage of the marriage, commercial partners' risk assessments, and viewers' opinions of global monitoring will be affected by this fissure. A notable pair split causes uncertainty that impacts editorial and commercial strategy and may intensify a cycle of reporting that favors drama over subtlety for organizations and sectors that need continual tales. Events demonstrate the human impact of shocking news. The prince's confessions and purported internal disputes show the difficulties of public decision-making. Reconciliation, redefinition, or divergence depends on how the parties balance love, loyalty, self-preservation, and honesty. In the coming years, a stable and moderate institution and an independent couple must evaluate their identities. Private advice and convictions, a media industrial complex that promotes transparency and spectacle, and an audience whose choices can change as quickly as their platforms will affect the outcome. The balance they establish between self-expression and reciprocity, transparency, and safeguarding individual truth and group strategy will shape their relationship and public narrative for years. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for the time being.